From Deadbeat. Awesome name. Quite a few years back there was an article, Ginger's best album you've never heard of. I had fun tracking each one down. What's your favourite unknown album at the moment that you'd recommend that people check out? God, there's another question here about would you read an audiobook? I can barely read the fucking questions. Can you imagine an audiobook of this waffling on? Albums I'd recommend. Oh my God, there's billions of albums. How many albums can I recommend? If there's one album that I would recommend you all buy, and it is absolutely astounding, and it's gone into my top 10 out of 10 albums of all time. First album that's done that in a very, very long time, since probably So Divided by Trail of the Dead. That's a great one. So Divided, or So Jealous by Tegan and Sarah. That's another good one. But these are, a few years old. This one. Oh, it's got the plastic wrapping on, so you probably can't see it. The new Pornographers, Twin Cinema. This album is killing me. It's kicking my arse. There's not a bad track on it. It's one of those albums where you play side one, side two, you go back and play side one because you can't think of anything to follow it with. It's up song after song. And it's so inventive. The styles, it's kind of indie pop rock, but there's so much invention. The arrangements, the musicianship, the musicality, the sounds on there. But more importantly, the songs is absolutely brilliant, start to finish. If you ask me, keep asking me this question, what albums do you recommend? Because I'll have a different one every time you ask me. But absolutely cannot recommend this enough. The new Pornographers, Twin Cinema. It is an absolute monster of a record. And there's nothing that I like more than to recommend music. I can't understand musicians who don't recommend music. I can't understand musicians that think it's all about them. They're carrying on a tradition, you fucking wanker. Let us know what has got you going, Neil Healy asks, who was the guitar player that made you want to pick up the guitar in the first place? Neil Healy's was Brian May and Brian James, both fucking very, very, especially Brian James. But the guitar player, my first love was Sweet, but I can't say, apart from the fact that he had that sticker of shit, which was one of my biggest, if not my biggest inspiration, I can't say that the guitar playing was an inspiration. I will say that the first time I heard Ramones, that changed everything. And I loved Johnny. Johnny Ramone's one of the few people that he's a right wing, very right wing, and I can forgive him for that because he's that much of an inspiration. The way he looked, the way he played, the way he looked on stage, how skinny he was, how he wore that guitar at the perfect length. But the sound, it sounds great on every album. But on the album It's Alive, which is the Ramones live, I think it's the Roundhouse, but it's on the Roundhouse tour. Oh, it's one of the greatest things ever, let alone the greatest sounds ever. So I would say Johnny Ramone, definitely, without a doubt, up there with Malcolm Young. And Malcolm Young more because it made me realise that I didn't want to be the lead guitarist. I wanted to be the rhythm guitarist. So that was the first time that I had that kind of distinction. But Malcolm Young more because he defined what I wanted to be. But Johnny Ramone because he defined everything that I thought was cool about guitar players. And still is. Politics aside, still is the coolest fucking guitar, one of the coolest guitar players to ever strap on a guitar. And I still want a Mosrite to this day. But I want one to hang on the wall. So I'll probably get a cheap one because I just want to look at it. Mark V asks, what's your biggest regret and proudest moment? My proudest moment is right now, the new Wildhearts album, just because of how scared I was to do it at the beginning, how scared I was to do the Wildhearts without the rest of the guys. The rest of the guys didn't want to do it or couldn't do it. In my mind, there was nothing stopping me from continuing because it's always been me trying to drive this thing, whoever's been featured in the band. And, there's never been a lineup in this band that I haven't loved and haven't been great. So don't think I'm throwing anyone under the bus. Not my style. Never going to do it. But when they decided they didn't want to do it, that was their decision. But what's not their decision is if I continue to do it. And these are my songs. They're my words that people shout at gigs back to me. It's too personal now. There's too much in it for me. The Wildhearts has gone beyond being a band, or let alone an album. or let alone a fucking lineup. But this new album, it let me tackle that fear of mine that I've had for quite a long time, that I can do this by myself. It is possible. I can also make a Wildhearts record that sounds exactly like the Wildhearts and bring in some new blood, which has also been terrifying for me. So I've got through a lot of personal fears by doing this album, and I think I've done really well. I've tackled a lot of things that aren't just fear, but a lot of my anxieties, a lot of my problems were fear-based. And until I started tackling my fears, I didn't realise how much fear was actually holding me back. And now I fear nothing, bring it on. But yeah, biggest regrets, just like I've said, I've seen weakness in myself and I've worked on it. So, you know, I've had no regrets. If anything, I wish I'd tackled these things earlier, but that's not a regret because I'm at my age now, I'm at my fitness level now, I'm fucking kicking ass. I've got no regrets because they've all got me here. Don't believe in regrets because it means living in the past, and I've got no interest in the past. It's fun revisiting the past when I answer these questions, but some of it, I don't want to go back there. No interest, no value for the past whatsoever. In the bin with you, fuck off. But I do appreciate that I have had things in the past that have held me back, that have ruined what I thought was my life. And it didn't ruin my life because I tackled it. So I think you don't have to have regrets if it's something you're willing to work on now. And the time to work on it isn't back then, because you ain't going to go back then. And it isn't tomorrow, because you're never going to do it if you do it tomorrow. Doing it right now, tiny little steps, you know, doing things 1 minute a day. But every day, without fail, no days off. You make the rules. It's up to you how much effort you put into this. But it's not up to you how much you do this. You've got to do it every day. That's non-negotiable. So I've worked on a lot of the things that I would have considered regrets. I'm grateful for all of them. So no regrets. And I'm very, very proud at the moment for many reasons. If you were writing Splattermania in 2025, would the Terrifier franchise make it into this? Of course it would. But the difference being, when I wrote Splattermania, you could still get arrested for owning splatter movies. Amazing. Anyone who didn't go through the Video Nasties times and the Video Nasties Act, and Mary Whitehouse and James Furman and all of those people, that I hope they're all dead now. I know Mary Whitehouse is dead, and I fucking had a celebration, I had a party when she died. I don't think it's good to party when people die, but, you know, Margaret Thatcher, Mary Whitehouse. I will party when Tony Blair dies. I will party when George W. Bush dies. You know, there's some cunts out there that deserve to be fucking dead. Anyway, when I wrote Splattermania, you could still get arrested. And I was arrested before that because I used to do video bootleg trading. It was only way you could see movies, and I was arrested. Mentioned this story before, so I won't go into it, and if I haven't mentioned it, ask me to elaborate on it. But I was arrested, so a lot of those movies were still kind of like, oh, I don't know if anyone's going to even be able to see the movies I'm referencing now. These days, all of those movies are not on shitty versions, you know, 8th generation VHS. A lot of those movies, even the gore sequences, are on YouTube. My kid was watching them when he was 8 years old. Now you can go to the pictures. Terrifier is way more gory than any of the movies in Splattermania. Then there's some great gory movies come out. The Saw franchise, the Hostel franchise. There's tons of really go. If I was going to write Splattermania now, which I'm not, because I don't believe in going back, but if I was going to write it now, none of the movies that I mentioned in Splattermania would be in the movie. There'd be all this stuff that really is hardcore splatter. Really hardcore splatter. There's Martyrs, there's a Serbian movie, there's all sorts of great stuff. Movies are a lot more gory and violent than they were when I wrote Splattermania. So yeah, all of the reference points would be different now, and rightly so. I love gory movies. The problem with gory movies is they tend to, especially the Terrifier sequences, is they tend to be really boring, enlivened by some really awesome gore. But then they've got all these subplots that nobody who's watching Terrifier movies cares about what the people are going through, let alone them remembering stuff that happened in the past, or there's some complex subplot involving a love interest. Gives a fuck. Make the movie fucking 90 minutes maximum and double the gore quota. That's the only complaint about movies these days, as they think there's something else. No one gives a shit about your subplots. Fucking, if it doesn't splatter, it don't fucking matter. What's the best tour you've ever been on and why? I haven't even got a name for this one, so I'm sorry, whoever has wrote this, but I will apologise when I get your name, and I'll give you a mention. But the best tour you've ever been on and why? Fuck me. They've all been great for different reasons. First proper tour that we did was Wolfsbane, and the Wolfsbane tour taught me, and probably the rest of the guys, but taught me everything pretty much I know about touring. How to treat bands, how the crew should behave, how to behave badly and not get arrested, and crowd control. Blaze Bailey taught me all about, the crowd's yours, work it. And also, Jace was really complimentary. It was one of the first people that complimented me on my guitar playing. We learnt a lot on that Wolfsbane tour, and so much so that we fairly single-handedly stole their whole crew. And they all come on tour with us because the crew treat us so well. Just a proper band, proper crew. The Manic Street Preachers tour taught us a lot about standing up for ourselves, because I've never since or before been on stage with such animosity from the crowd. If you're gonna find out that you're not tough enough for this business, a crowd like the Manic Street Preachers crowd is going to teach you. You better get off the stage. This ain't your gig. We learned how to stand our ground, and we also learned that if you stand your ground and you're good enough, you'll get them by the end. And we found out that you can go on there with fucking every single person hating you, and you can turn them all round by the end of it. And we also found out that if there's a couple of cunts that are still giving you a hard time, they'll still be there when you get off stage, and then you can go and have a word with them, which happened a few times. But the best tours, it's got to be Motorhead and ACDC. Now, the Motorhead tour, what can you say? I mean, I got to hang out with Lemmy every day. I mean, my God, I got to tick off so many personal bucket list goals in life. One of which was to do some of Lemmy's speed. Now, ever since I was a little kid, speed just worked for me. I had a line of speed, and it just worked. I didn't get the speed come down. I figured since then I must have had ADHD because they treat that with speed, but it just worked for me. I used to like to figure out, I wonder what drugs my favourite bands take. Motorhead was obviously very, very blatant. White Line Fever. Motorhead itself is a name for speed freaks. And Lemmy wasn't shy about mentioning it. And I used to be thinking, imagine how strong Lemmy's speed is compared to this stuff I'm taking. First request, when I joined the tour, Phil Campbell came up and he said, anything we can do for you. Again, a proper band, how to do things right, Don't treat the fucking support bands like they're second-rate citizens. Treat them like they're on the same level as you, because they fucking are. They're still just having to do this every day. Again, Motorhead really reinforced that for me. Brilliant band to tour with. Great fun. Great after shows. But I'd said, and I'm sure I think he's sober now, actually, so I don't mind dropping him in here a little bit. But I said, all I want, I think when he said, we'll do anything that you want, he meant, do you need any extra beer? Do you need any more room on the stage? Do you need, anyone to go and fetch you something? Something like that. And mine was, I want to do a line of Lemmy's speed. That's all I want in the whole wide world. And he went, well, it just so happens I can make that happen. And he came back and he chopped me a line of Lemmy's speed out. I don't know what it was or where it came from, but 3 days later, I'm still awake. I still haven't eaten anything. I've had no penis for 2 days. And I'm just like, fucking hell, this shit is like rocket fuel. It lived up to all my dreams. As well as that, it was just, Motorhead were brilliant. And the best thing about the tour is we got to see Motorhead for free every single night. And just standing on the side of the stage with a good few drinks inside of you, watching Motorhead play on Lemmy's side. As a Motorhead fan, I grew up watching Lemmy on stage, from the balcony. If I was lucky enough to get to the front of the stage, he'd still be, 30 foot away. Just to watch Lemmy close up and how he tackled everything, his vocals, his volume on stage, how he commanded the crowd. It was just a school day every single day, and I fucking loved it. Every single second of that tour. And I got to do it again, because I toured Motorhead a second time with Mike Monroe. supporting. So that was brilliant. But Motorhead was just a dream come true for anyone. But for a Motorhead fan, it was manna from Nirvana. And obviously the other one was the ACDC tour. You can't even describe what it's like on tour with ACDC, apart from the fact that you got to watch ACDC every night, and they were never shit. We did tons of gigs with them, and they were brilliant every single fucking night. But again, they were so gracious. They treat you like a proper band. We went on stage and thought we were dying a death. The fans were sticking their fingers up at us, and we said to Brian Johnson, I'm not sure this is going to work out, Brian. Your audience hate us. He's going, they bloody loved you. And I'm like, did you see them? He goes, yeah, they didn't throw anything. And I think they had a run of bands supporting them that had just been bottled off every night, or whatever was at hand. That was, a missile. And no one threw anything at us. That was the good thing. We didn't know that at the time, but ACDC was so lovely. Our drum tech, Martin Palmer, one of the guys that we stole from Wolfsbane, it was his birthday, and they had an album that hadn't even come out in Britain yet. And I was just like, can we get this album and signed by you? And they went, oh yeah. It came to his birthday, and they said, sent someone into our dressing room. They said, just come in the dressing room and we'll do that thing. And they went in the dressing room and the whole band were there. And they all wished him a happy birthday. They all signed. This guy was in fucking tears. He was the biggest AC/DC fan in the world. And they were just so nice, and I had a drink with them. And, the sort of thing that when you're a kid, you'd want to be like that. You wouldn't want to be one of these arseholes who are full of themselves. You'd want to be one of these cool as fuck bands that treat people not nice. AC/DC were that band. Every day, their cabs were switched on. The whole wall of cabs, backline that they had, all switched on. Loud as fuck. They didn't mic the cabs up. They were playing arenas, stadiums. They didn't need to mic up the backline. It was all fucking live, all volume. Apart from that, they had that amazing beginning where the big crane would have the destruction ball, and it would smash through this big wall. We saw them setting this thing up, and it was sponge. The bricks were sponge. Every night we saw them setting it up, and it was all sponge. Every single night they knocked it down, and it was stone. It was it was devastation. I bought it, hook, line and sinker, every single night. It was amazing. And not only that, we were allowed to sit or stand as close to the concussion area. Now, the concussion area is where they set off the fireworks, or the noise of the fireworks. It's deafening. I've seen these things crush the prefabs. So we used to have little prefab dressing rooms. I've seen the power of these things, the impact thing, just crush one of these things. So we would get there as close as possible, preferably without being in a dressing room. But a lot of the time they said, no, you've got to be in the dressing room. You can't stand next to these things. But every now and again they say, you can stand next to these things. And every time these went off, for those about to rock, we'd run towards them, try and get away from the security. Fire, boom, knock backwards. But this one time we were in one of these prefab dressing rooms, and this thing went off, and the walls all came in, but every single thing in this dressing room either broke or fell, or broke as it fell. It was devastation in our dressing room after these fucking concussion things went off. And apart from that, we got to watch AC/DC all fucking, it was close to 3 hours, and these guys are like, probably 50 at the time. We seen Brian Johnson go on stage with the flu, and I mean the flu, not man flu, not a cold, dying of fucking death. He could barely speak, and he got through the entire show, 3 hours of it. But not only that, we went on stage and they had these risers, and we were told we can't go on the risers, and we would, and they'd tell us off, and we'd do it again, and they knew we were going to do it. But they built the stage in Spain, I think it was. The plexiglass, the big posh plexiglass stage hadn't arrived. So they had one made of unshaven wood. And I went up this thing just once, and this wood was doing this, and I'm like, I ain't staying up here, straight back down. Well, we were watching AC/DC this night from the balcony, and Angus went straight up onto this same platform that I'd been on, wobbling like fuck, and he went straight down on his back, and he did the die and fly thing where he's spinning around on his back, and I'm just like, hands up. He's doing something I could never do. And then he stood up, and he had wood sticking in his back. He looked like a fucking hedgehog, and there was blood streaming down his back. And at that point, I'm just like, ACDC are the best band in the world. This is proof. Absolute professionals, 100% every single night. So yeah, that was my favourite tours. That was my podcast for this week. Thank you very much. Keep your questions coming in. Keep your comments coming in. Check the YouTube out and leave your comments there, because we're really enjoying that. But for now, thank you very much.